Hello and welcome to Am Writing Fantasy. My name is Jesper. I'm thrilled to launch this new four-part series where we will embark on an epic journey through the art of storytelling. We will unravel the narrative mastery behind one of the most beloved fantasy adventures of all time, The Fellowship of the Ring. Our aim with this series is to learn how to structure a story using Lord of the Rings as an example. Some writers love to plot, while others claim plotting to be too restrictive or that it takes away the enjoyment of discovering the story, what the story is all about. One camp is often called plotters, and then the other one is often called pantsers. And pantsers meaning that they are flying by the seat of their pants. In other words, they go with the flow and write what comes to mind at that point in time. And my job here in this video is not to convince you that one approach is better than the other or vice versa. The truth is that in either case, you need to know about story structure. If you're a plotter, you will take care of the story elements before you write. And if you're a pantser, you will do so while you are going through the editing phase. Know, though, that there are no rules to writing. There is no single way that is the correct way. So this series will teach you the methods that Autumn and I use when we write our books, and these methods put writing into a bit of a system that is easy to comprehend and apply. So, from the tranquil pastories of the Shire to the treacherous depths of Moria, we will delve into the intricate story structure that makes the Fellowship of the Ring a timeless classic. Grab your limbus bread, dust off your elvish, and join me as we venture into the heart of Middle-earth to reveal the secrets behind the storytelling magic of the Fellowship of the Ring. Before we dive too deep into story structure, we first need a solid understanding of what the story is all about. You know, a series on plotting isn't worth much if you don't have an idea for the story or at least something that you can outline. That would be similar to like fishing without the use of bait. You know, that's pretty useless. So to this end, Autumn and I always start with what we call a premise. Our formula goes like this. 1. A hero who finds himself or herself stuck in 2. A situation from which he or she wants to break free by achieving 3. A goal. However, there is 4. A villain who wants to stop him or her, and if successful, will cause the hero to experience 5. A disaster. This is what it would then look like for the Fellowship of the Ring. 1. A young hobbit, Frodo Baggins, finds himself stuck in 2. A situation where he must destroy the powerful and dangerous One Ring. To 3. Save the world. However, 4. The Dark Lord Sauron seeks to claim the ring and use its power to conquer Middle-earth, and if successful, 5. Will plunge the world into darkness and enslave or destroy its inhabitants. Now, if you need more help with this, with the premise part, and by the way, everything that I'll be talking about in this entire video series is actually covered in great depth by our step-by-step guidebook called Plot Development. And I'll place a link from where you can get that book if you're interested. And the point I wanted to make here was that inside that book, inside Plot Development, there is a link from where you can download another book of ours, one that is for free, and that's a guidebook on developing that story premise. So there's much more assistance there if you need it. Anyway, apart from the premise, the other part we need is a protagonist. This is then Frodo, and that we just specified in the premise itself, so we then need Frodo to go through a character arc. Our plot development book contains a comprehensive guide on how to develop a deep and encompassing character arc, but I'll go through a more like simplified and easy approach for the purpose of this video here. It's often easiest to start the character at the end point of the arc, focusing on how the character is going to be affected as a person by the end of the story. I'm not talking about where they are or what they've done, but more how those things have affected them as a person. So for Frodo, the end point of his character arc, looking at only the Fellowship of the Ring, would be gaining a deeper understanding of the responsibility and burden that he carries, as well as the importance of friendship and trust in overcoming seemingly insurmountable challenges. Once you know the endpoint of the character arc, the easiest approach is to decide on the complete opposite of that endpoint. And why is that, you might ask? Well, because when dealing with opposites, it becomes much easier for the reader to recognize that a change has taken place and that the character has actually changed through the course of the story and the events that has taken place. So what does that look like for Frodo? Well, at the beginning of the Fellowship of the Ring, Frodo is naive about the dangers and challenges of the wider world and overly reliant on the safety and comfort of his familiar surroundings in the Shire. So you can see how that's basically the complete opposite of where he ends by the end of the story. There are several ways in which you can move the character from the starting point and all the way to the end point. And we've described our approach in great details in the plotting book, as I said, but you need to be mindful that there are different types of character arcs. And we call these the positive arc, the negative arc, and the steadfast arc. A positive character arc is what many recognize as the hero's journey. It's also the most common one, and you see that most often in stories. The character starts out with a lack of skill or knowledge, and then by the end is transformed into a true hero. As the unlikely savior, the character will have to face different obstacles put in his or her way by the plot of the novel. At the story's resolution, the character's new view creates the groundwork for a new life and a confidence that would not have been possible or even considered at the beginning of the novel. So we're dealing with an internal change here, and it's usually quite radical, like going from weakness to strength, fear turns to bravery, and so on. As a result of the positive arc, the character is still the same person. However, he or she is better and a more fulfilled version of themselves. All right. The negative arc is where the character also starts out with a lack of skill or knowledge, and likewise the plot throws obstacles at the character, forcing the person to doubt their internal belief. With a negative arc, though, these obstacles doesn't lead to a decision to change. Instead, one of three possible outcomes occur. Number one, the character discovers that the world is actually harsher than originally expected and becomes overwhelmed when finding it impossible to change the system. Number two, the character discovers that the world is actually harsher than originally expected, like before, and as a survival mechanism becomes jaded and corrupted themselves. Or number three, the character rejects the discovered reality and dooms him or herself, maybe dooms others as well. The negative arc is most often used for the antagonist, but there's no reason why your protagonist couldn't become an anti-hero, declining into insanity, death, or something worse. Or else. Maybe not worse. Else. Something else. And finally, the steadfast arc. A steadfast arc is a path where the character doesn't truly change their beliefs or who they are. This doesn't mean that it makes for a boring story, though. Here the character still starts with a certain belief, and then the novel's plot confirms that the belief is correct. The resolution then reinforces the character's original belief. A steadfast arc runs very similar to a negative arc until the last moment where the character is proven to be right. And one little neat trick that I want to give you here is to have the character fail something at the beginning of the story and then create a not identical but a similar situation requiring the use of the same skill set at the end of the story, and then by then have the character succeed. So this will also help to cement that the character has grown and changed, because what they failed at in the beginning, they succeeded at in the end. That wraps up our exploration of the story premise and the character arc in the context of the Fellowship of the Ring. So by understanding the foundation of your story and your protagonist's journey, you're well on your way to crafting a captivating narrative that will keep your readers hooked. In the next video, we will dive deeper into story structure and discuss what we call the plot posts. So these are crucial moments in your story that keep the narrative moving forward and engage your audience. We are examining the intro, inciting incident, reaction phase, new info, develop plan, and the climax next time. So by understanding these key elements and how they work together, you will be better equipped to create a compelling and well-structured story. And of course, next time as well, we will base all of this on the Fellowship of the Ring. So thank you for watching, and stay safe out there.